Hello, everyone. This is Brian Tonsoni from Delphi Bracketology with the most recent bracket babblings. We're coming to you live on audio tonight due to some bandwidth issues since we have 19 computers hooked up to our home Wi-Fi. We have been discussing basketball all night, eating wings, and having a good time with 3 televisions with the various tourneys on the television. So we're going to bring individual people in to talk about the issues of the day, and there have been many so far that have required moving teams up or down for a seed line or two. So as we bring people in, they're going to introduce themselves as part of our group, and they're going to give you a little bit of a conversation on what's happening. Our first speaker today is it will be Daniel Jakes. He has been a regular on our show. Daniel, quick introduction and talk about your topic.
Yeah, hello. I'll be talking about Texas today. Coming into the day, we had Texas as a 4 seed. With their loss to Baylor, we dropped them down to a 6 seed. It wasn't a terrible loss, but it certainly hurts the Longhorns with their recent slide of games. It does hurt, but sometimes that may be for the best, dropping down a seed line, getting better matchups, maybe becoming a top 6 seed rather than the last 4 seed. So,
yeah, and Daniel, thank you for that. We had a tough decision. We didn't really want to drop Texas down that far, but we felt that Texas was equal to about 5 or 6 teams, and they're the only ones at the moment in that 5 or 6 team grouping that has lost, and therefore that dropped them 5 or 6 spots, and it moved them from the lowest 4 to one of the highest 6. Thanks, Daniel. Next to join us will be Cole Rickles, another junior in our program. And Cole, what do you have for us?
Well, this morning we met and we were discussing Notre Dame and how they should look in our bracket, which we've kind of overlooked slightly. So we were moving them up this morning, and then they have a great win over Duke, so they're moving up to a 6 and could even reach up to a 5, which could be a great position for them, and they could do really well in the final bracket.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit that if Notre Dame goes on to upset North Carolina in the semifinals, that part of the bracket of the ACC tournament, they could really push to get up into the 5 range. And so a hot team like Notre Dame, if they could win a game or two, might move up a seed, but we have them as a 6 right now. Thanks, Cole. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up is junior Kane Meyer. And Kane, what do you have for us as far as our conversations this evening?
My conversation is over Michigan State. The Spartans behind Tom Izzo and one of the best point guards in the Big Ten, Denzel Valentine, playing some great basketball right now. We talked about that with a win in the Big Ten tournament at championship, the Spartans have a good chance at moving up to seed 1. So doing that would put them in a great position to have another possible Final Four run. And Izzo's team always has a chance. So
I agree, Kane. I think that's a great point. We had a really long discussion with the number 1 seeds. There's a lot of teams. The 1 and 2s are so close, and we were talking about, will the ACC championship get in? And Oregon's resume is pretty impressive, and a lot of it is going to be determined, as Kane said, on if these teams win their conference tournament. So we think Michigan State, if they win their conference tournament, might be a number 1, and that's something we got to keep an eye on before Sunday. Thanks, Kane. Next up is our social studies teacher, Dave Gilbert, the provider of the wings tonight. We really appreciate him bringing some wings up for the show. Dave, what do you got for us tonight?
I'm going to talk a little bit about Iowa. We've been discussing Iowa tonight and how far should they drop. They've obviously been struggling the last few weeks. They've dropped 6 of their last 8 games. They got upset again today in the Big Ten tourney by Illinois, which is a bad loss, a sub-100 team in the RPI. And we think they could drop as low as a 6 on the seed line, but probably not any lower than that. They do have 4 wins over the top 16 in the RPI, and a couple of weeks ago we had them up as high as a 1 or 2 seed. So we don't think they can drop that far, much lower than a 6.
And we had a long discussion on Iowa, probably 2 or 3 times over the course of the evening tonight. We felt they had a bad loss, which normally might move a team down, but when we looked at the teams below them, we just couldn't replace Iowa because of their whole body of work. And that's an interesting part of our job as the committee, if we're trying to be the committee, is not to to just move teams based on one game in March. We got to look at the whole committee, and Dave was absolutely right. Iowa is probably stuck on that 6th seed. They had a chance to move up. The only reason they move down is if a couple seeds maybe go into a championship, and I think that might be a Wisconsin or a Dayton. If they win 2 or 3 games, we might have to revisit that. But we think they're locked into the 6th. Next is junior Jesse Scowden. He's joined us here this year. We really appreciate him. He's one of our quiet assassin type of guys in the committee. He just sits back and smiles and shakes his head yes or no, but we're going to get him to speak here tonight. Jesse, what do you got for us?
Well, we discussed a little bit about how Oregon could be a number 1 seed, but they'd have to have some help. They'd have to win their tournament, of course, and then probably have an Oklahoma or Virginia type lose early in the first round.
Yeah, we had a lot. That goes back to our discussion on the number 1s. We were all impressed, weren't we, Jesse, with the Oregon's resume, right? They have like 10, I think. Is it 10 top 50 wins?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have 10 top 50 wins, and they don't get a lot of publicity from a lot of the other bracketologists, but we kind of look for them if they win the Pac-12 to maybe be considered for that ultimate number 1 seed. And who's next here? Ty, you got something you want to add? Or not really. Okay, Ty Schuler has nothing to add, and that's okay. He probably would talk about Hofstra. He kind of likes Hofstra as one of the mid-majors, and that's something I will add at the end. We got junior Marcus Austin coming in. He's going to give us one of our last discussions of the night. What do you got for us?
I'm here to say that Duke might be replaced by Iowa State due to their loss against Notre Dame today. That was a pretty crazy game, but they ended up getting beat in the final seconds.
And Duke had a big lead, and Marcus is absolutely right. We talked about should Duke drop and who would they be replaced with, and it was between California and Iowa State. And, depending on where you look and who you talk to, one would put California as a 4 and one would put Iowa State. We decided when we looked at the resume that Iowa State was deserving of moving up to a 4. We dropped Duke down to a 5, and we think that that's probably going to stay. Thanks, Marcus. This is just a group of young men, and what we talked about today. We've had a really good day. We had a meeting this morning. We were fortunate to have a local reporter join us and witness our morning meeting, and we had a really nice article in our local paper tonight, and we're feeling pretty good about that. We're getting known. We had our first controversial tweet sent our way, and I've tried to be a positive role model for that with our young people and how to handle what we call trolls on Twitter. So we're having a really good time up here in Delphi trying to predict the bracket. We're nowhere near where we need to be at this time because it is unclear. Friday will be an absolute huge day for seeding and for bubble teams, especially in some of those smaller conferences, the bubble conferences, Virginia Commonwealth, Tulsa, Connecticut, Cincinnati. Big day. And our last discussion that we really talked about was, do we have 12, 13 team lost teams from big conferences? Should they make it in the Final Four, or should it be teams like Valpo, Monmouth, Wichita State? Right now we're leaning towards Wichita State and Monmouth and maybe one of these 3. Florida, Syracuse, or who is the other one? Florida, Syracuse, Vanderbilt with their loss is now maybe out or on the bubble. So we're going to have that discussion, mid-major versus those 13-team losses. And because our buddy from Florida didn't like our tweet or something, so we've kind of moved them down. No, we take this serious. We're trying to make the best bracket we can. We want to just say thank you to all of the people who have supported us in the last 2 or 3 weeks, from Shelby Mast at USA Today to Student Union Sports publishing us and putting these broadcasts on iTunes, to the people at Delphi High School, to moms bringing breakfast, to wives cleaning house for our meeting. This has just been spectacular experience for us all. So we really thank you a lot. You can follow us at Delphi Brackets for the remainder of the week. We'll each actually do some bracket analysis after the bracket is chosen. You can also follow us on www.delphibracketology.weebly.com. So thank you very much for listening. Thanks to Benji Manzi, our musician from Free Music Archives, and happy hoops watching.